Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here. Joining me on the show today, what can I say? We have the incredible, the amazing, the badass, the superstar, the legendary, the one and only, the incredible. Let's find out why she's super badass. The awesome Angelina. Angelina, how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Absolutely. What better way to have an incredible, super badass Tuesday than to be chatting with someone as badass as you? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
There you go. It's like Christmas already, and we are in October. I love it. I love it. So, if you're new to the channel, as you know, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow. It helps a lot, but also in the description below, you're going to find all of Angelina's social media. Let's follow her. Let's share some love, and let's find out why she's super badass. We're on a mission right now. And without further ado, let's jump in. So, I want to start this whole conversation by throwing out the first question, which is, when you first stepped into acting, tell me, what do you think that it would give you, and what has it given you at this point?
Well, I started when I was very young. I did my first school play when I was 5, and I'm pretty sure every year after that I did at least one performance, whether it was at school or at church or community theater of some variety. And I did my first short film in high school at 14. So I think when I first started doing it, I don't know that I really had any expectations of it. I just fell in love with it. I loved performing. I loved memorizing lines. I loved stepping into the shoes of another person. And as far as what it's given me a whole new way to discover my own self-confidence. It's given me a community of wonderful, like-minded people that share the same passions that I do. And it's given me so much fulfillment where I've come to the point where even if I can't do it full time, and even if it doesn't come to the point where it can pay all of the bills, it's still something that brings me so much joy and so much energy that I don't mind sometimes struggling with the balance of it all.
Once you decided, right, to make it as a career, you started to make your first
Mm.
steps here and there. But I wonder, what were some of, yeah, kind of the first challenges that you encounter as you were making it into a pro career somehow?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I grew up in rural Maine where there really isn't much of an industry at all. And so the first couple projects that I did were student films or friends of mine that were putting a project together that I got to be a part of. So I've been acting for 20 plus years, but I didn't have the opportunity to get paid to act until 3.5 years ago was the first time I booked the gig that paid me to be there and paid me to be in the project. So I think that part of it is definitely challenging, especially if you do love it so much. You want to dedicate 110% of yourself and your energy and your time to it. But if it doesn't pay the bills, then that isn't realistic for a lot of us because you need to have a job that does support you financially. So I think that part of it was definitely really hard, but I came into it recognizing it was going to be a slow burn. I don't think I set too high an expectation for myself or my career. So it's really just been fun to discover the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs. And moving to Atlanta almost 3 years ago now was a huge risk, a huge leap of faith, but one of the best decisions I've ever made. And it's all been a roller coaster ride from there.
There you go. I bet it was. So you're from Maine, huh? That's pretty cool. Go Blackbirds.
Go Black Bears! Yes.
There you go. Pretty cool. That's amazing. But once you decided, to make it as a career, you had your first challenges. At this point, what has been some of kind of the stereotypes? Or my question would be, what do you think that it's one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about actors in general?
That they're fake because they're always pretending to be somebody else. I would say that there are very few parts that an actor will book that are completely unlike themselves, because otherwise they wouldn't book it. Because it needs to be true to you and real to you in some sense for the casting director to see the vision that you fit the character. And I feel like a lot of the parts that I did in theater growing up were very close to who I am as a person. And it's just about feeling what they would feel in that moment, even if you haven't necessarily experienced that exact situation in your own life. For me, it's been a big empathy exercise to try to understand and relate to the person that you're trying to play. So I would say that might be a misconception is that everybody's fake or they can't be present in real life because you absolutely can. It's just a matter of compartmentalizing a lot of the time. I think acting is so much more about truth than it is about lies. Because again, it's about making this person and their choices and the way that they feel and the way that they perceive the world truthful to you. So that way you're not playing a character or you're playing a certain type of character, like the scream queen or the drama queen or whatever it is. There's so many different titles and types that actors kind of get thrust upon them. But really, it's about making that character relatable to the audience. And you can't do that through a lie. No one is going to believe a lie. They're going to look into the eyes of that character, not believe them, and it's going to disconnect them from what the story is trying to tell. So I would say it's more about how good you are at telling the truth or making something true to you than it is about finding a way to lie.
I love it. You're giving me these vibes on how badass you are. I'm starting to getting there. Like, I get now. I get it. Why you're badass. This is cool. This is cool. Now, have you found that playing characters sometimes reveals truths about yourself that maybe at that point, for some reason, you didn't want it to face?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Because as I said, when you're trying to understand or relate to a character that is making a decision or reacting to something maybe completely differently than what you would under normal circumstances, you kind of need to dig deep to figure out what would make you react that way or what would make you feel that way. There was one particular role that I did back up in Maine, theater role, and I jokingly called that character my alter ego because that was the first time where I could not use a big percentage of myself in that character. I had to discover so many things. So I think in some senses it does reveal a lot about yourself that maybe you didn't know was there. Just the self-discovery of it all, I think is one of the most beautiful parts of the art form is learning about you, but also learning about the world around you and learning more about people in general. Because your perspective could be an echo chamber, depending on what your upbringing was. And so by having a character that sees the world differently, it forces you to see the world differently, or maybe realize that the way you thought you saw the world has changed now because of this part or because of the people that you've met during the process of doing the project.
Okay. And with the characters you have played like at this point, and with the people you have met at this point as well, tell me, what do you think about society at this point?
I think we are at a place in history where, as I mentioned, the concept of an echo chamber, confirmation bias can be very dangerous, regardless of what you believe or regardless of how you lean one way or the other. I think it's really important for all of us to do our own research and force ourselves to look outside the box and look outside the sources of information that maybe we were always fed and try to see all sides of an issue because if things are truly black and white in life, then there wouldn't be a debate. It would just be that's good or that's bad. But everything around us is so gray. And I have a lot of hope in society because I think more and more people are coming to that understanding that this isn't just good or this isn't just bad, and that different beliefs, different backgrounds, different peoples being in the same room is a good thing because it forces you to be uncomfortable sometimes. And you can't grow without going through some uncomfortable moments. So I think society is at a really interesting tipping point right now. But I have hope that we can all come together, find unity, and find a way to, even if it's agreeing to disagree, to do that in a way that benefits the most possible people.
Tell me, do you think, focusing a little bit more to the whole acting, tell me, do you think the pursuit of recognition changes an actor's relationship with their craft?
Oh, absolutely. It can't not. I hate using double negatives. But because for me, as I said, acting has been a part of my life my whole life. And it was never about fame or recognition. If anything, I would prefer to never be famous. I would prefer to never have to worry about paparazzi. I would prefer to be able to go shopping or go out to dinner with my friends and not worry about who's trying to take pictures of me in an uncomfortable moment. Because there's a lot of negatives to fame. People like talking about the glitz and the glamour, but there's so much more to it than that that dehumanizes a lot of the celebrities that people have come to worship. And so I think if you're in this business or any artistically inclined business with the goal of being recognized, I think you're kind of setting yourself up for failure in a lot of ways because if you're driven by external validation, you can't ever make everybody happy. And so, for every person who loves you and creates a fan page for you, there's going to be another person who hates you and is going to create a page of all your worst angles in that project that you did that you might have won all these awards for or what have you. And so you have to really do this because you love it and do it because it in itself fulfills you and brings you joy because people are so fickle, especially audiences. And so if you're trying to be recognized, if you're trying to be famous, I think it gets in the way of you being authentic. It gets in the way of you being your true self because you might not be willing to tackle some of those ugly parts of yourself or go deep into a character that might not believe all the same things you do just because you don't want the negative perception around it. And it just forces you to be so much more in your head and so much less free that you could be if you were just present in the moment and not worrying about what people around you thought of it or thought of you doing it, which is easier said than done. Because it's definitely, though I'm not looking for recognition, there is a lot of fear still of the people that will see it and what their reaction to that will be. So, it's easy to say, oh yeah, don't think about that, just be present. But it is something that you have to train your brain to do. It doesn't come naturally for most people, I would say.
How do you protect your own identity when you're constantly slipping into the lives of others?
I think it's important to keep a certain distance from the character to yourself. I know a lot of people believe in the method form of acting where you literally become that person for the duration of the project. And I think there's a lot of risk associated there for your own mental health, especially if it's a villainous character that you're playing or just antagonistic in general. There's been so many instances of people, I won't name names in this instance, but sending their castmates disturbing things in the mail or just going down a negative path in their own minds and mental health issues arising because they went a little too deep when they were looking at that character. So I think it's something you have to be very intentional about, making sure that your identity doesn't intertwine too much with the characters that you're playing. Because if you're not intentional about it, they will come home with you. I had a very intense scene that I did for Ambrosio, which it was my big feature debut, and it was a domestic violence scene. And I love stunts. I love fight scenes. So I was excited for it from that point of view. But when I was in the moment, my fight or flight kicked in and I dissociated on set. My mind left my body and it was very frightening in that moment. And it took a minute or two for me to kind of come back and calm myself down a little bit. But that moment affected me for the next few days. I felt like I wasn't really myself. I felt like I was in my head. I was down. The energy was just not there. And so I think having a strong support system of people that you can talk to, having a therapist that you can talk to about these characters is all so important because if you get stuck inside your own mind, you might lock yourself in with this character. And that, in some instances, could be a good thing. If it's a great character, if it's a happy, bubbly person and you're struggling with your mental health, then maybe that's a good thing. maybe finding some of them in you can actually brighten your life or teach you to look at the world in a more positive way. So I'm not saying it's always a bad thing, but yeah, in short, I would say you just have to be really intentional about it and take the time to not rush in and out of the scene, but giving yourself time to decompress after, especially more emotional days on set.
Do you have like a specific activity or something to kind of disconnect after a long day on set, or well, like what is your thing here?
From the time that I was young, have always just been alone and put on music and danced. Just moving my body freely to music is kind of like running water in a way. It's just the flow of it just helps calm my mind in a lot of ways. And really, any hobby can do that for you. Some people enjoy coloring, that helps them quiet their mind. Some people enjoy watching a movie or hanging out with friends. Whatever it is, just find something that works for you because everybody's got something.
Hmm. And now that you mentioned music, tell me what's that song that could describe a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your career as well.
I don't know if it's one that you would know, but I grew up going to church every Sunday, and my faith has always been really important to me. And there was one song by Mandisa. I don't even know if she still makes music anymore called Overcomer. And I haven't listened to it for a really long time, but when you asked that question, it's what came to mind. And the lyrics of the chorus, if I remember properly, are you're an overcomer, staying the fight through the final round. You're not going under. Love is holding you right now. You might be down for a moment, feeling like it's hopeless, but that's when he reminds you you're an overcomer.
That song is is from 2013, right?
Maybe. It
Hmm.
sounds probably, yeah. It's pretty old. Well, not compared to other music, but I can't believe I thought of that out of nowhere. But yeah, in my personal life, have struggled with some stuff with my physical health. I've struggled with my mental health since middle school, and it really hasn't been until recently, the last few years, that I've come to a place of true peace and joy, where instead of depression or anxiety dictating my life, it being kind of a fly that I can swat. So
If storytelling is a mirror of humanity, what part of your work you hope it reflects?
I kind of have two answers to this because as an actor, you don't often get to dictate what the message is of your character or of the story. But recently, I've been diving into writing and directing my own stories. And I would say for that, when it comes to the stories that I want to tell and the impact that I want to have with the stories that I tell, I would say hope. That's the biggest thing that I want to reflect back is that the film can be accessible to anybody, regardless of if the subject matter is applicable to them, but that they can find inspiration, encouragement, or hope through it. So more than just entertainment, but trying to make a difference and help people with the stories that I tell in one
Mm.
way or another.
Do you think an actor's greatest performance is one that entertains, one that heals, or one that makes people uncomfortable?
I think an actor's greatest performance is when it does all three for them. Because again, the message of the film is very subjective to what that director wants to say. But as an actor, if you're able to come away from a role where you feel like you've grown, you feel like you had fun, and you feel like you overcame those moments of discomfort in order to bring this character to life, I think that's the thing that you're going to be most proud of looking back over your career.
And do you believe your art will outlive you? And if so, what do you hope it says?
I think we all hope that we leave a legacy behind. It doesn't need to be something profound necessarily, but as I said, I would hope that the stories that I could tell would inspire people and bring hope to people that might feel like they're in a hopeless situation. And so I would hope the same would be true even after I'm gone, that they could watch that film or read that screenplay and see a reflection of themselves somehow and feel encouraged that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, regardless of how long and dark it feels.
Now, switching to our next section, speed round questions, yes, no, or pass. Super simple. Gonna ask you a couple of questions in which you can only answer yes, no, or pass. You ready?
Oh boy. Yeah, let's go.
So, do you believe every role changes you?
Yes.
Have you ever turned down a role you still think about?
Yes.
Do you think rejection is a gift?
Yes.
Is acting more about truth and talent?
Yes.
Is starting small underrated?
No.
Have you ever felt more at home in a character than in your own skin?
Yes.
Do you believe success without pain exists?
Yeah.
Have you ever considered leaving acting behind?
No.
Do you think the world still values a great storytelling over quick entertainment?
Yes.
Do you believe patience is more valuable than speed in a creative career?
Yes.
And a bonus one, can you cry on cue?
Yes.
Okay.
Usually.
Depending on the situation, let's say, right? Now, if this conversation was the last time you ever spoke about your craft, what would you want to leave behind in people's hearts?
If you need to take a break, forgive yourself and allow yourself to do so because burnout is to be expected in a creative field. But don't let that burnout discourage you from ever trying again. Because when you are living in your purpose, there's nothing more fulfilling and life-giving.
We couldn't agree more. And you know what? My final question here, so we can all enjoy and relax after an epic chat here. So, what do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
Trying to think of something punchy, but I probably shouldn't. I should just answer the question.
Go for it. I
Um,
mean, I understand. Usually, this question takes the longest, so I totally get it. You're fine.
the art of perseverance.
Boom. Sounds like a franchise to me. Who knows? Sounds like the
Maybe
next.
one day.
Sounds like the next title for your next bio book. Who knows?
Perhaps.
Let's find out.
Shall see.
And I mean, what can I say? I mean, Angelina, you are an amazing, super badass person because you're doing what makes you happy, and we all know that. As cliche it sounds, do what makes you happy and everything. We all know that it's a pain in the butt, and for sure it can take you to places in which you're about to be like, you know what, I'm out, but you're making it happen. You're showing out there that dreams can come true, and I find that amazing because besides giving us epic characters, epic stories, that little thing calling that little thing being hope, the fact that you're showing that dreams are possible, that's amazing. You're showing out there that it is possible. And I think in this crazy, messed up world we're currently living in right now, the fact that we can rely on you, who is showing, hey, something so positive, which is dreams can come true, that's amazing. And now we discover why you're badass. So mission accomplished. What can I say? And yeah, I do want to thank you so much for making this happen. I do want to thank also those who stayed the whole episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below. But by this point, come on. You should know why Angelina's super badass. Let's follow her. Let's share some love. Hashtag Team Angelina. And again, thank you for making this happen. Keep shining out there. Keep kicking ass. Keep doing what you do. And I'll be seeing you in the next one.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.